I believe there are two big misconceptions around drug addiction, alcoholism. The first is stigma, like who belongs in the drug addicted population. And the truth is it affects 20% of everybody in the human race. So it affects the rich, the poor, everyone equally. It doesn't matter religious backgrounds, all those things don't matter. The other big misconception is around recovery. In truth, when people find long-term durable recovery, their lives become miraculously better than they could possibly have imagined. The stories, if you follow, when people find permanent recovery, they're modern day fucking miracles. And that's what the Nameless Recovery Show is about, normalizing recovery.
At an AA dance with my hands up like this, and they're just like, "You're Moose now." And I'm like, and I thought, dude, I've nicknamed a lot of people. I know what you don't do, or I know what to do if you don't want a nickname. You can't argue about it. You just got to take it and they'll forget. But the day after the convention, I was chairing my home group, and they were like, I'm like, "My name's Tim, I'm an alcoholic." And the whole room was just like, "Moose." And I'm like, damn. They're like, "Oh, you thought we forgot." And then the next meeting, none of the same people were there. But I'm like, "Yeah, Tim, alcoholic." I had 4 months sober. And the whole room, "Moose." And every meeting, it was all different people every time. But they're like calling ahead. "Do not let this guy be anything but Moose." And at first I was a little like butthurt about it. But after a couple of weeks went by, I'm like, it's kind of cool that these guys kind of took me under their wing and gave me a nickname.
Heck yeah.
There was a guy. By the way, we're rolling right into another episode of the Nameless Recovery Show. My name is Estil Wallace. This is Mark North, my buddy, my friend, my colleague. He's wearing a heavily meditated shirt today. We are here interviewing a really, really interesting individual from none other but the confines of. Is this your car, or is this like the druggy buggy at the treatment center? Okay, this is your truck.
Bro, this is my truck.
All right. This is Timothy Kavenagh. Can I use your last name?
Yeah, Kavenagh. You nailed it.
Nailed it. All right. This is Tim Kavenagh, Dank Recovery. If you are on the internet and you're sober, or you're sober curious, or you give a shit about recovery stuff, and you're on Instagram, go right now while we're talking and check out Dank Recovery. It is so fucking funny. I can't tell you how many times, Tim, in the last, let's call it year, I've laughed or literally shared, like not even just like shared within Instagram or Facebook, like I've screenshotted something you've posted and shared it amongst like my text message threads with my friends. Really, really funny shit. If you don't know who he is, go check out Dank Recovery. I know that you've got some other handles I won't mention on today's talk, because I know that you like to keep some anonymity there. But everybody, welcome Tim Kavenagh, Dank Recovery.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I want to say, like, it's one of the coolest things to me. Like, yeah, all the likes on the page are cool, the comments are cool, but I love hearing about, like, my sponsor sent me this, or, my sponsor treat, Like, I love the ones that have, like, a cult. I love when I get, like, a text from a guy in the program, and it's my meme. I'm like, bro, I made this. That's the best stuff.
It's really
That's
good.
when I know. That's when I really feel like I made it.
So we talked briefly on the phone about how this started. Can you rehash the story for us? How did this get started, this Dank Recovery thing?
Oh, bro. So, dude, in recovery, you come in, you try to be super spiritual. If you're trying to do the deal right out the gate, sure. I want to be a good sponsee. I want to be the guy that's trying to live right today. But, I have like a couple boys in the sober living house that it's like, all right, I'm going to be like 100% authentic and not bullshit. Like, we would joke about super dark stuff, overdoses, and just be laughing, cutting up. And then I go back to, the sponsor tree, and it's like, oh, no, I'm so spiritual. I pray all the time, and which there's truth in that too. But I'm like, but I really appreciated these like little side friendships. And long story short, bro, I get added to this AA like meme group. And it was, is there cussing on this show or not?
Say whatever you want, bro.
Okay. Well, anyway, so there's like all these dudes that work a good program, like spiritual good guys. yet they're posting stuff that in my brain didn't equate with healthy recovery. Yet I thought it was hilarious. So I'm trying to reconcile like having the sense of humor of a piece of shit, but also being spiritual and trying to live different. And then it's like sad to admit it took me a while to realize that having a dark sense of humor isn't the same as like being a bad person.
They're not mutually exclusive, being a good person and having a dark sense of humor.
Right. So I start making my own memes, and there's some success to them. There's some they're getting stolen by other pages and stuff. And at this point in my life, I'm a counselor at a state-funded treatment center where they have like strict rules about like don't get caught being stupid on social media.
Which is like why you're wearing a tie and talking to me under the cover of fucking night in your truck.
Yeah. So don't be stupid on so I was like terrified to start my own page because it's like, well, what if I do? And it tells everyone. Timothy Kavenagh just created Dank Recovery memes on Facebook, and it's like then they all know it's me. But I'm like, man, I'm tired of other people taking credit for my stuff. And so it was actually September of 2015 that I started the page, and there wasn't another page like it, honestly. And it slowly blew up, and I made it for those people like me and the few friends at the Sober Living. And what I found out is like it was just extremely widely appealing. And what also was a pleasant surprise about it was how many people that were in active addiction that were like, whoa, dude, you are telling my story. I had no idea that there was other people, let alone all these thousands of people reacting to this and commenting same or oh my God or literally me. And there is addicts just like me sitting there isolated thinking that no one else knows what it's like to be them, and yet this page is making jokes about the exact same experience. So then there became like this outpouring of people in active addiction like, yo, I relate to all this, what do I do? And I'm like, oh my God, like I had no idea.
There's
like,
a way out, bro. We can get you help.
I just thought I was being an idiot on the internet, but really it's like I'm doing what they did in the big book, which is, hey, we're just telling parts of our story, we're laughing about it, and then we offer you a solution at the end of it. Right. So it's just kind of weird to see it manifest in that kind of medium.
It's amazing, dude. It's so fucking funny. I laugh regularly, and there's a subject that you approach regularly on your page that I want to approach today. So, and that's weed, obviously. I'll spare you the mystery. It's weed. Yeah. I want to talk about weed. The funny thing is we're going to do a CEU event on cognitive dissonance, like people not being able to admit when they're wrong. And it's just whatever our clinicians picked. And so my biz dev guy's like, hey, can you create like a video ad, like maybe somebody standing in front of the camera? I was like, bro, we're going to shoot it right now. And you two are going to argue about whether or not weed is sober. And then I'll jump in the middle and be like, hey, come to our CEU event where we unpack this. Would you like to see it?
Yeah.
All right.
Check it out, bro. 30 days continuous sobriety.
Nice, man. I actually just celebrated 6 months sober.
Oh, congratulations. One day at a time.
Yeah, man. You want to smoke some weed and go to the speaker meeting?
You're joking, right? I just got done telling you that I got 30 days sobriety.
No, I hear you, man. I've been sober 6 months. I haven't drank alcohol.
Okay, that sounds good, but that's a mind-altering substance.
I would agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong.
Cognitive dissonance is a real thing. Cornerstone is going to be hosting a live CEU event where we unpack the science of why people can't admit when they're wrong. So join us for a live CEU event on cognitive dissonance theory. Look forward to seeing you there.
That's what we're going to push that out.
That's awesome, man. The first thing I want to point out that I love is the Mark Twain quote. I'd agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. That's like, I say that all the time. It's one of my favorite quotes. And it's crazy. Like how you saw the meme I made about the movie How High.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how about How Sober? It's now a recovery documentary. Like where do you draw the line? Like, man, heroin helps me stay off meth. Oh, well, you're sober then. If you know, like, what's the qualifier? You know?
Well, And you did one where it's like 18 things that are not sober, and dude, the fucking comments. The comments were crazy on that one and on the other one with the guy sitting back saying like, "Thank you, California, I finally did it, I'm sober." Like, first and foremost, like, why don't we have this talk? Like, why don't we, the three of us that are sitting here sober, you got what, like 9 years, 10 years?
9 years.
9 years. I'm 17. My boy Mark here is how long you got, buddy?
63 days.
63 days.
Right on, man.
All right, so the three of us, we're all sober. Like, I'll give you my 100% like honest opinion on marijuana and its use. Like, it just was decriminalized here in Arizona, and I voted for the decriminalization, but that doesn't mean that I smoke it. I'll regurgitate what my sponsor told me when I was new. I have frightfully abused the privilege of smoking marijuana. I am now in a 12-step program. I'm in abstinence-based recovery. I don't use drugs. I don't use any mind-altering substances. And that's that. That means I don't take acid anymore, even though Bill might have. It means that I don't eat mushrooms. I don't take strong sleep medication.
I take Xanax to fly.
I don't take Xanax to fly. Right, that's a good example. Yeah, and
it just doesn't work. It's not a thing.
Yeah, and smoking weed is just one of those things. Like, I don't know in what universe someone wants to say, I'm sober, but I also get high as fuck. where it's totally cool if you want to smoke weed. Like, I'm totally for smoking weed. I think smoking weed is great. And if I could get away with it as an alcoholic and drug addict in recovery, I can't get away with it. If I smoke weed, I listened to Tank Sinatra say this just a couple days ago on a podcast. He was like, dude, there's a lot of things that are questionable, some of the iffy behaviors. He's like, but I gotta tell you, smoking weed's not one of them. If I'm smoking weed, I am not walking towards, I am sprinting towards my next drink. I smoke weed, I forget I'm an alcoholic. I start drinking, I forget I'm a drug addict, and round we go. And everybody that wants to disagree with me, that's fine. Go put money on my books when I land in prison, motherfucker. Like, what do you care if I decide I don't want to do drugs anymore? Like, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
What's your take? I mean, I read all your memes, so.
Yeah. My take is this, man. It's like, you got to stand for something, right? I'm not going to sit here and say everything's okay. It's like, what I talk about is from a 12-step perspective. It's from a perspective that through my own lens of experience. And it's like, I mostly deal with people who have been in and out of treatment. Do I know people who stop using heroin and smoke weed? Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact.
100%.
Have they been to treatment? Have they been to treatment like 5, 6, 7, 8 times? No, they have not. They typically kicked and went and smoked weed and went on living their life. It's always the person that's arguing about it the most is like, they're still trying to prove that somehow they are not an addict.
Right.
Which it's like, hey, great, man. I kicked dope 10 different times on my own and kept trying to smoke weed and kept ending up back on it. At some point, I had to realize I'm not a heroin addict. I'm just an addict, period. I just like to feel high. And it's like, well, why do you hate potheads? I don't, bro. I could give 2 fucks if you smoke weed. I really don't care. But it's like, let's not call it something it isn't. It's not sobriety.
Yes.
And so it's like for every person that can go smoke weed and not do their drug of choice, I would argue that a lot more end up dying trying to prove themselves the exception, you know? And it's like, here's the other take too then. It's like, then they get in this debate, well, who the fuck are you AA, NA people, gatekeeping, blah, blah, blah. This is a program of abstinence, you know? Like, I'm not telling you your life is wrong, but you're coming into a program like Narcotics Anonymous even draws a bigger line than AA, because they're like, no drugs at all. None of them. It's not clean. AA, you operate with the information in the big book, like the doctor's opinion. I have an allergic reaction. And some people might say that sounds corny, but we can at least concede to an abnormal reaction. When I put drugs in my body, I just want more. And I know which ones I want the most. It's just a matter of time. So it's, how do you come in all fucked up on anything and try to say you're working step 1? It's like, hey, it's fine if you can do that, but it's not working this program. You're not working step 1.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and
So that's where I stand with it. It's like, this program's designed for not using drugs.
and
it's still a drug. It's yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, exactly. It's a drug. We're trying not to use those.
well, and you think about, like, what do people who try to prove themselves non-alcoholic, what's the first thing they do?
Try to control their drinking.
Yeah, they go fucking drink. Like, if you're not an alcoholic, like, if my whole shtick, my whole pitch, if I'm temporarily an attorney and I'm just in defense of my character and my standing, my position, and listen, bro, you don't fucking know me. I'm not an alcoholic. And then you watch me, I'm gonna go test that theory. It's like, dude, if I'm not an alcoholic for real, first of all, it's not a conversation. I'm just living my life, not drinking. People who don't have a problem with drugs just go on living their lives without drugs. And yeah, there are some outliers. There are some people who get into hard drugs just from the wrong crowd, exposure to it, whatever. And they have something happen to them where they're like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that anymore. What's wrong with just smoking weed? And they just smoke weed and they go on. You're right. You've nailed, there's people who belong, there's people who are defined by the American Medical Association, by ASAM, by the 12-step fellowships as the alcoholic or the drug addict, the 20% of the human population whose wires are crossed when it comes to substances. And if you're that, trying to prove that you're not is just like, who are you fooling? And I think you've really stumbled onto something interesting with the memes, because so many people want to fucking argue about it, and I have never. And I'm a comment troll. Admittedly, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I'll watch people argue over the new iPhone release or fucking anything. And to read some of the comment threads on your memes, oh my God, it's got me in stitches. It's got me in stitches. People take this shit so seriously. It's like, bro, you're ready to like throw down and fight, and all you're doing is defending your nonsensical need to smoke weed and call it sobriety.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And you know what? Like, I comment troll. I'm just a troll in general, all right, on the internet. People are like, why do you have such an agenda against potheads? It's like, they're the most easily triggered population of people that think they're in recovery out of anyone I've ever seen in my life. Like,
dude, I love
you
potheads.
don't understand that this is my medicine. It's helping me. It's like, clearly it's not. Like, I've never been stoned and saw someone shitting on weed on the internet and been like, that's it, I'm going in. I'm like, I'm just going to keep smoking my blunt. I give 2 fucks what this guy has to say. Like, who cares? It's not, your medication is not working, bud. You probably should try something different.
Can I pull one up? Can we read comments?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'm so pumped right now. I'm so pumped. We're gonna go Chrome tab. Dank Recovery, it's right here. All right, can you see it?
Yeah.
First of all, great job. You're so close to 100,000 followers. You're so close.
I lost like 200 when I went on this like week-long rampage against weed being called sobriety. But I feel like I'm
you're gonna make up for it.
Dude, there's like there are people I've become friends with on the page that like smoke weed and they don't do heroin, and I let them know all the time. Like, I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
Totally,
like,
dude.
I'm not gonna take away from that.
100%.
And they jump in the comments and laugh, and I heart react their stuff because I do care. I don't want to see.
Totally.
It's like, you watch football ever?
I'm not a big football guy, no.
I watch football.
There's this coach, John Gruden. He said, it used to be my dream to just like get out on the field and just run the scoreboard up, throwing touchdown after touchdown. He's like, but after being a coach, I just dream about taking a knee and running the clock out with the lead. And man, when I started working in recovery, it was like, I just want to see everybody get sober and thrive and blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to see this amazing recovery happening all around me. But then you realize the reality is so many people die, and you just are happy with, hey, I just want to see you stay sober for at least the rest of today. I can celebrate that as a victory now.
100%. I don't consider marijuana a harm reduction tactic. Weed is just weed. It's legal. It's legalizing and decriminalizing so fast in the United States. Another 15 years, it's going to be legal federally, I think.
Well, I stepping in as a newcomer, and I'm fortunate what I think is a burning bush experience, and I'm try to get closer every single day through prayer, meditation to get closer to God. I do not see how smoking weed would come in. I had to change my sobriety date when I got my sponsor, because I had to get honest if I want sponsees. I had smoked weed. I had a couple months more before, but I was like, you know what? I was fucked up. I remember sitting there like out of my head 2 months in off of methamphetamine and alcohol, 2 months sober and smoking weed only a couple times. I never really enjoyed it, but I'm an addict. I'm like, oh yeah, all of a sudden now I'm sober. I might as well smoke weed. Everyone else can. It's legal. What the fuck? Yeah. And I remember being lost touch thinking, God, are you pissed at me right now? Like, because I'm pissed at me, God. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I got back. I got with my sponsor. My sponsor's like, yeah, you should probably change your sobriety date. And for me, that's as a newcomer, that's all the perspective I can bring, is it did not bring me closer to God. It made me go further from the program and closer to my fridge for fucking munchies. And so I'm trying to pick up the big book, not Reese's Pieces. So I don't know. That's my little take on that.
And when I was in treatment, I remember having 12 days sober and like obsessing about, can I still smoke weed? And man, it just hit me. It hit me, bro. I'm like, I don't have anywhere to live. I don't have a job. I have 12 warrants out for my arrest. And like the fact that I'm not thinking about where am I going to live or what am I, how am I going to get a job? All I can think about, it's like, that's got to be a red flag. Like, can't I just take a time out on the weed just long enough to get a job in like a stable living environment?
Just even like, into sober living.
Dude, I gotta tell you, in county jail here, Durango jail, lying on a bunk with 100 of my favorite friends, right? Like, all of my visions of what the future looked like included me pulling bong rips. All of them did. Every one of those visions of the future. Yeah. All right, here, I want to look at your page. Your page has got almost 100,000 followers. It says, "Get wrecked, Satan." Hashtag recovery. Yeah. Who's Daniel Baldwin?
He's one of the Baldwin brothers. We did this long, like Q&A, or not a Q&A. We did a long, tell me your best war stories kind of post. And this one person told this long story about Daniel Baldwin, like his overwhelming ego and like wanting free crack and all this stuff. And everyone rushed from my page to Daniel Baldwin's and trolled the living shit out of him. And he blocked me. And I attempted to reach out to him through Twitter to make amends. But he was like becoming a legend on my page. I'm not kidding you.
He was like Charlie Murphy,
like a godlike. People were sharing Daniel Baldwin. I'd never even heard of the guy. And I'm like, this guy could be like legendary. He could build a cult following through my page. And he blocked me. I was like, dude, you really spoiled an amazing opportunity here.
That's fantastic.
You still got me blocked.
It's like Mr. Brown can fuck off.
All right, so first of all, these are fucking hysterical. There's two that I really want to look at. First one is this one. It's got 4,100 likes. And I see my comments up there because it's me. All right, so I did it. I finally achieved sobriety. Thank you, California. Which is great. This is lighthearted. You're just poking fun at the silliness of being stoned and thinking you're sober. There's nothing, listen, if people like Demi Lovato can use their massive platform to say stupid shit like this, you and I have all the same freedom in the world to mock it publicly. All right, so heroin is sober. Love it. So is cigs. And I like to see how many likes. That has heroin is sober got 45 of its own likes.
Yeah. Like what?
You said nope, that's boofing Tide Pods. What's boofing?
I didn't say that, but boofing is when you put drugs in your butt.
Boofing Tide Pods, yes. I know what Tide Pods, the little detergent things you put in your dishwasher. Will that fuck you up? I bet that would fuck you up in a way you don't want. My home away from home, Ohio sober. That's good. So cigs are sober. We got 3 replies to that. And this is a good one. You said only for the first 10 years, but after that, it doesn't count anymore. And then I think you also said that you have to turn in your recovery time after 10 years. You forfeit all recovery time. Oh, that's good. I just gave up nicotine, bro. I just gave it up, no fronts, 10 months and 28 days ago. So July 27th. If I make it to July 27th, it'll be 1 year off nicotine.
That's awesome.
No one cares what you do. No one cares how you choose to recover. If you need to justify your recovery to internet trolls, then maybe you are not okay with the path of recovery you've chosen. I like that. That's a good response. But people...
Spot on.
Yeah, people want to respond to that. This is perfect response, 100%. If you have to defend yourself or justify what you're doing, you already know you're doing something wrong, and that's only a matter of time before you're back off to the races. This is a great comment. Weed is the best, and these memes will always make me laugh. See, and this chick she's great too. She's like, hey, I smoke weed, and you're funny as fuck too.
She's been a follower for a long time. She's someone I've talked to personally. So she knows that I when I was telling you about like the support of people like that, she's one that I was referencing mainly, that gets it, like knows my heart on the issue. Like, dude, I'm happy you're alive, and if you're happy, I'm so happy for you.
Totally. This guy's good. Nobody cares if y'all smoke weed in recovery or not. If you have to explain yourself with a paragraph, then you clearly have some insecurities about a meme. If I smoked weed, I'd definitely do heroin again. Just my 2 cents, right? And then this guy's got 2 replies. And knowing that is good. Some people don't have that. That sucks for you. Not everyone is like that, though. True. I love the fact that you've got this conversation going, because it's something that I joke about a lot with my friends, because it gets some press. There are some people that have large platforms that talk about smoking weed being sober, and it's just absolutely crazy. And if you're in recovery and you've had that psychic change that's described in the book, that's described by millions of people that have had one, the question around weed is a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. It's not even on the fucking radar. It's not like, is it a canine? It's like no, like it's a mind-altering substance. That way or this way. It's very simple. But if you haven't had that experience, and it's a mind-blowing, life-altering, I mean, I have a hard time even describing or articulating how great my life is in sobriety. Because I'm not just physically abstinent. I feel like I'm microdosing mushrooms, except I'm not. Like, my life is so bonkers good, right?
Yeah.
I was in a fairly large, I'd say probably 40 to 50 people in-person meeting on 420, and the chair was asking for topics, and somebody just said weed. I'm like, when is weed a topic in recovery? Like,
super great topic.
Yeah, and there was a lot of back and forth. You can imagine that meeting ran a little bit over that day.
All right, dude. Here's meme number 2 we got to talk about today. There've been a lot of recent questions about what sobriety is or isn't. So let me educate you. The following things are not sober. Asterisk, in addition to the basics like heroin, meth, coke, crack, alcohol, PCP, shrooms, etc. I like that you called it shrooms instead of mushrooms. All right, so 1, Xanax or any benzo. Kava is in this class as well. What the fuck is Kava? I don't even know what it is.
I think it's like ayahuasca. What is Kava?
Kava is like honestly, I don't know. I've never done it. Now that I'm so
but it's on there.
Shit like that.
I'm getting too old. I got sober in 04.
People do it to change, how they feel. So it's not sober.
All right.
We'll just say that.
All right. Being on more than 2 psych meds. Hey, like
that was more a little trolling, but also like I don't know.
Oh, for sure.
To unpack that one.
For sure, that's gonna piss people off. And and obviously, in my view, that's obviously a joke. That's done lightheartedly. Like, dude, some people have psychiatric diagnoses that require medication for management.
Right. Yep.
But it doesn't mean it shouldn't be looked at. Also, cigarettes. There you go. Cigarettes. The first 10 years, you get a mulligan, but after that, you have to quit or you forfeit all sobriety time. That's a good one too, because you're right. You mentioned, like, if you do a meme or you make a joke, there's always some asshole, or let's not call him an asshole. There's always some person, some stick in the mud that's going to be like, well, cigarettes and caffeine, man. Cigarettes, those are fucking caffeine and nicotine are drugs. And it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know what planet you're living on or like what argument you're trying to win. But like clearly cigarettes and the caffeine don't fall into the I'm getting fucked up.
Or
I
what
can't
drugs
pass.
you did, because caffeine and nicotine are not in the same category.
They're not. And if you feel like you have to defend that, like you probably should go to a 12-step meeting. Get a sponsor.
I was doing an outpatient group with some guys, and he's like, well, why isn't caffeine a drug? I'm like, have you ever heard of someone sucking dick for Mountain Dew? Like ever in your life? Just on that principle alone.
Hey, and look, and in the same breath, like I'm
Drink Mountain Dew.
I'm not hooked on caffeine, right? And I'm not hooked on nicotine.
Right.
Like I just gave up nicotine. Nicotine's been the hardest thing probably of all the substances I've ever kicked. But you're right. I could pray, meditate, be a good present father and husband, pursue a career, sponsor men, run fucking H&I meetings in jails. I could do all the spiritual stuff and live a fulfilling, rich, meaningful, giving, supportive existence while using nicotine and caffeine. I can't do any of those things. I can't do any of those things when I'm doing other drugs, and weed always just leads me back to other drugs. Me, not everybody.
Right.
All right.
If you look at the chart of my life, it's going upward with nicotine and caffeine. And with weed, it was embarrassing that my greatest accomplishment was that the Missouri Tigers NCAA football team was the greatest dynasty that had ever lived. They had won every game for like 20 years on PlayStation 2, and they had the best draft class. Like, I'm just steadily dominating. Like, that's my contribution to society. I'm glad this digital make-believe football team is doing so good.
Just giving back, man.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Eating fast food more than 2 times a week, definitely not sober.
Gotta change my sobriety date.
Worshipping Satan as your higher power. Do you know anybody that's done that?
It's one of those like other trigger points, I guess, when I'm trolling people, and it really just screams out like my parents made me go to church when I was little and I didn't like it.
Right.
So I'm gonna choose the bad guy in the Bible as my higher power. It's like, okay, grow up, man. Like, I was in middle school too. I used to draw pentagrams in my notebook. Like, let's grow up now.
Not paying child support. Not very sober. Taking steroids. I had a pretty good steroid run in recovery. And, you know, when young guys, I don't take them anymore, but I was like 10 years sober when I started fucking around with like testosterone and I took, I've taken some strong shit. Trenbolone. I got fucking huge, but I also almost put myself in the early grave. My doctor was like, "What is wrong with you and what are you taking?" He's like, "You're gonna have a heart attack any minute, Estil. You need to stop." And so I did. None of that was mind altering, but I got to tell you, man, when guys that are like a year sober or less ask me, they're like, "Hey, what do you think about doing steroids?" I'm like, I think it's awesome if you're a bodybuilder and you've got a doctor that's willing to sign off on the fucking risky behavior. But like, what if you're not? I mean, what are you trying to be the biggest guy in AA? That's literally what my sponsor asked me. He's like, "Are you trying to be the biggest meathead in AA?" And I was like, I don't know. It sounds dumb when you say it like that.
Yeah. And typically you start asking just some follow-up questions, and the person quickly gets to a point where there's literally no valid reason. Like, okay, so I'm sponsoring a guy now. He's like, "What do you think about steroids?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, are you talking legally or illegally?" He's like, "Illegally." I'm like, "Isn't that a felony?" He's like, "Well, yeah." And it's like, so you're willing to, like, I mean, if you have to commit a felony, bro, and like that's jeopardizing your career, all for what?
Yeah, so you can be
like
big.
You can work out and feel good. Yeah. Now I have to factor in some other things you told me, like you're depressed and you're in the middle of a 4th step. Of course you want to take steroids, you know?
Well, and I think there's a huge danger, right? Like with relationships, with career and finances, with working out, with all these things that take our attention away from recovery being front and center, especially in that first couple of years. Every dude that's brand new is like, "I'm gonna get huge." It's like, all right, cool. You might not stay sober doing that.
Right.
I'm not changing my sober date. I did take Tren sometime in the last 5 years. Suboxone, methadone, Subsolve. I don't even know about Subsolve. And Kratom. Dude, I know my buddy just went to detox for Kratom.
Mm-hmm.
Kratom is...
What is Kratom?
Yeah.
I've never taken it. It got invented after I got sober, but evidently you can get it in head shops and it fucks you up. Some kind of shitty synthetic opiate. And that's like some people's like that. That's their jam.
It's like the dudes that you hear that are like, "Yeah, I was just big into spice." I'm like,
yeah, spice.
How the fuck did that
Spice is
happen?
in there with Kratom. It's like, what the fuck? Just smoke weed. Why are you smoking that? Acts of domestic abuse. Hurting animals. This is probably my favorite on the list. Number 11, masturbation, unless you have the consent of the person you're thinking about. Where'd you come up with this, dude?
I was just gonna put masturbation on there just to disqualify everyone from sobriety, but then I was like, let's put a funny qualifier on there too. Like, who calls and asks for permission? Hey, about to rub one out, and I just thought I didn't want to do anything rapey, so I figured I'd give you a call.
Just keeping everything out in the open, transparency. I'm running an honest program here. Energy drinks, except for Bang, for some reason. And I like that Bang has the trademark on it. That's great. You're giving props where props are due.
I wanted to give the illusion that maybe they paid me for that.
Vivitrol.
And I say this because a lot of these, I'm like, they're just things that I found objectionable in my own recovery. And I don't drink energy drinks, but I went on this little kick with Bang. So I'm like, we'll go ahead and say Bang didn't count, but the other ones do.
Yeah, I like energy drinks. Vivitrol, that's fun.
I'm cool with Vivitrol.
I'm totally cool with Vivitrol too, man. This is another good one. Going to more than 7 12-step meetings each week, unless you're retired, makes you not sober.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, now you've replaced it. You might as well get on Suboxone.
Oh, did I hit a sore spot
He just
there?
called me out.
What's it? It's in his pocket.
It's in my pocket. It's how much I use this stuff. I have a real problem with this shit right here. I don't know if you can see that.
What is it?
It's Sinex.
Oh, okay.
I have like rebound. I've been using it so long. I have rebound congestion if I don't use it. So now I just use it all the time, and I stay strapped with it. Everybody that's in my life mocks me mercilessly about this, including my children. Marijuana, that includes CBD, and I gotta tell you, I work in treatment, obviously, and we've done hard recommends for people to take CBD when they have back pain, but it's also based on whether or not they can their work environment. Because if you have a job where like you're just another number and they piss test you in a cup, like you're gonna pop hot for THC. If you get tested and it's sent to a lab, it'll show that it's a cannabinoid derivative and that there's no THC in it. But if you just use a regular pee cup and you like rub CBD shit on your shoulder because it hurts, like you're gonna pop hot for THC. 100. 100%. I've verified this many times. Also, coffee and sugar will always remain beyond reproach. 100%. Well, you drink coffee?
No questioning that. What's that?
Yeah, you can't question coffee. All right. Dude, I could go on and on with these memes because they're fucking hysterical. Like this one with Bill Wilson frying balls and cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And people will always use that, like, oh, you go to AA, that cult, Bill Wilson took acid. I'm like, Bill Wilson's not my higher power, bro. I don't worship Bill Wilson, you know? It kind of makes me like AA even more to know
totally,
that he
dude.
fucked his life up in different ways.
Yeah, dude. Oh, God. Memes. So,
are there any that you've ever seriously regretted that you've taken down?
There's some that I have, and I'll tell you what, speaking of Demi Lovato, I made a meme about her. I said, this is Demi Lovato's Halloween costume. And it was the girl from Pulp Fiction overdosed with blood coming out of her nose.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I woke up the next day with Demi Lovato in my DMs, like going off. And I was
real?
like, uh-oh, and she was in the comments commenting and replying to people. And I was like, I felt really bad. And in hindsight, I probably should have capitalized off that.
Totally.
But I ended up playing the
She's got that Baldwin guy in the room with her.
Yeah. I've always had kind of a rule about not attacking somebody personally.
Sure.
And making more general things about it. And she seemed genuinely upset and hurt. She's like, I overdosed. I was in the hospital for 10 days. What's so funny about that? And I'm like, dude, okay, hey, my bad. That was wrong of me. But I did also say, but listen, if you were to be Mia Wallace for Halloween, I'm just saying you'd be an absolute legend. And she was like,
100%.
And she
it's so
said,
good.
I will do that when people stop overdosing and dying. There's nothing funny
come on.
about this. I'm like, oh, okay, So anyway,
No, but it's
that
okay
is
to
one
but it's
that I
okay to
did
go on
take
YouTube
down.
with millions of people and say that smoking weed is sober. That's okay. So it literally, like, if she's allowed to say that, we're allowed to laugh. I stand by my position.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because they're like, the news headlines were like, Demi Lovato admits to having brain damage from her overdose.
Dude,
Then the next headline is, Demi Lovato claims to be sober on marijuana. It's like, yeah, those two things seem to have a correlation between them.
And she, like so many people, she's had a bad run-in with substances, and she's trying to figure it out. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. That's what I think everybody that's struggling or has struggled with substances is at some level trying to do. What's my mix? Do I have to be abstinent completely? Because if there's a way that I don't have to, if I can pull off drinking once in a while and smoking a little pot, dude, I'm totally going to be into that program before the 12-step program. That one sounds way cooler.
Absolutely.
It sounds way cooler. It's a really easy sell. You don't have to pitch that one really hard. Making amends to people and dedicating your life to service work, this is a much harder sell than the just smoke less weed and drink less alcohol. It's so much more appealing.
And you know what? That's this is why we don't, I know we've made some comments, but this is why you don't claim a 12-step program publicly, is because she did that.
Right.
And then she turns around and says weed's sober. It's like, you've made yourself an unofficial spokesman for a program, and then you turn around and go directly against that, And I remember when I was newly sober, I put an AA sticker on the back of my truck, and my sponsor's like, congratulations, you now represent Alcoholics Anonymous in traffic.
Quit flipping people off, bro.
And I'm like, what do you mean? What's so bad about that? And he's like, I mean, how do you drive? How do you respond to anger while you're driving? I'm like, dude, that's a great point. I wanted that. I don't put AA stuff on my car. I don't want to have to represent AA everywhere.
I just wave my 12-step pistol around at people. Can I tell you a story? Can I tell you an ayahuasca story?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sponsoring a dude I've known is a dude that I was roommates with at the Solution, the place that I cleaned up at. It's gone now. So a gazillion years ago, I was roommates with this dude. Like 10 years goes by, I'm hanging out there, smoking cigarettes probably, and he walks up, newcomer, he just checked back in, and it's been 10 years since we've seen each other. And he's like, you're still sober? I had like a new car. He's like, you're still sober? I'm like, yeah, dude, fucking ever since when we were roommates. And he's like, whoa. She's like, will you be my sponsor? And I'm like, yeah. So we're working the steps, and we're doing some stuff, and I'm walking him through this and showing him some meetings that I think he should go to, and this, that. And he goes, hey, you heard about this ayahuasca thing? And I go, yeah, sounds pretty trippy. What do you mean? And he goes, yeah, well, like what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. It seems trippy, dude. I bet it's fucking wild. Why? Why do you ask? And he goes, well, I'm thinking about flying to Peru and taking it. What do you think? And I go, yeah, why not? He goes, really? And I go, yeah, what do you got? Like, how many days you got? He's like, I got like 3 weeks. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't, you're only throwing away 3 weeks and you don't fucking do anything I ask you to do anyway. Who cares? What's the, no harm, no foul. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. And he goes, would you do it? And I was like, no. And he goes, well, why not? I'm like, that's for someone who's spiritually seeking. People who take ayahuasca, and I respect that journey 100%. The people who are doing that, they're spiritually seeking. If I thought for 1 second that taking ayahuasca in South America or anywhere was going to make me a better husband, a better father, or better suited to my purpose, which is to be a billboard to human beings to help remind them of what they really are. If I thought it was going to do any of those things, I would do it in a second, but I don't think that at all. I'm not really seeking anymore. I'm pretty well found. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But I was like, yeah, you should totally go. Let me know if it works. Because you hear stories about that too. People go to South America and heroin addicts, and they do ayahuasca. They come back and they don't do heroin anymore. I don't know anybody personally, but I've heard of it. I heard some dude knew did that. Ibogaine. I know a guy who recently tried to get sober, struggled, couldn't fucking pay attention, went to South America, took some Ibogaine, completed that program, whatever that was, came back here and is like sober, like in 12-step world now.
Wow.
That like helped bridge the
That's
gap
insane.
for him to like get into the 12-step world. Hey, bro, you never know. I don't know what it takes to get people in.
Right. There's a comment on there. They're like, what about ayahuasca? I think it's on that What's Sober post. And I said, only if you unintentionally ended up in a native tribal ceremony and were offered some.
It would be rude
But if you
not
sought
to.
out the ceremony, you're not sober. But if it was unintentional, yes, sobriety.
super
Because how
dope.
do you turn it down? You don't want to offend the natives.
You wanna be a- yeah.
God.
God,
Disrespectful.
so rude.
Yeah.
Just fucking
Yeah.
go with the flow, Mark. Why are you so rude?
Come on now.
That's the only exception.
Stumble.
Oh, God. I have not laughed this hard on the Nameless Recovery show yet. This has been the most fun. The most fun. Like I said before we got started, the next time we do this, I want to be not in this office, and I want you to not be in your car. I'll fly out to you, or maybe you'll come out here.
Will you sit in the car, though, if you do fly out there?
If I fly out there, maybe we'll sit in the car and do this. But the next time we get together, let's do it, you and me, in person. Dude, 100% overwhelmed with gratitude that you took time to get on here with us. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. It's always an honor and a privilege, and it's fun, especially when we speak the same language. You know what I'm saying?
Right on. That's Timothy Kavenagh, everybody. Dank Recovery. If you are not following him, go follow him right now.
Moose.
See you later, Moose.
All right, later.